Work To Game presents Anthem Free Radio, coming at you live and on YouTube, with your hosts, Brian, Chemistro, and Nightmare Demon. Adventure with us as we learn more about the world of Anthem.
What's up, everybody? Brian here, and welcome to Anthem Free Radio, Episode 8. We have a couple of new faces. In this case, Chris is joining us on the Anthem Free Radio for the first time. Welcome to Episode 8, Chris.
Guys, what's going on?
Not much. And also, we are blessed to have iGameHDR Sir Mav making his second appearance just after his first debut on Episode 7, coming off of, obviously, the main focus topic is going to be the VIP demo, the downs and eventually the ups, because I think it started off a little tough. I don't know if you had any problems. And so we're going to talk about the demo, our impressions, and essentially lead into what has to happen from here. So for that, to start, there was a little bit of news. And Sir Mav, do you actually have that article pulled up from Chad talking about what they learned off of the weekend?
I do. I knew you were going to talk about this one during the podcast.
He's a pro, man. This guy's a pro. I was like, I'm going to see if I can throw this guy a curveball, and I cannot.
Yeah, no, they had a ton of issues going on, especially getting me and a couple buddies were streaming when we first started off, and they had the connection issues. Apparently it was what they called an infinite load screen, they had the infinite load screen, and then something was going on with the connection that kept loading it in and wouldn't let anybody in at all. Mm-hmm. So they had a hope. So everybody thought it was initially a server issue. It wasn't a server issue. They had plenty of servers. They had the right connections, everything. It was some underlying issue that they had done tests on that didn't pop up during their underlying tests and just caused chaos and mayhem on the beginning of the day.
Yeah, the whole time I think Chris and I were calling it the 95% load issue because it just it felt like it stopped.
It's a
moving.
meme now. It's a meme now.
It's so close. So Chris and I were streaming as well. So I think a lot of people were streaming. One of the cool things about the article, they talk about how it breaks like all these records, how many people were streaming, the volume, the hours watched, minutes watched. Obviously, there's a lot of interest in Anthem. Obviously, there's still a lot of hate for this game due to its relationship with EA. That's one thing that I'd like for us to kind of get at later on. But first, I want to dive right into the core of our impressions. Chris, since you're the freshman here on Anthem Free Radio, I'm going to toss to you first, because you, last we talked, are still on the fence. You're playing the game, you're having fun, but the demo didn't obviously sell you on it. I want you to go ahead and talk about your experience, because I think Sir Mav and I are going to be pretty giddy about our experience.
So, first of all, one of the reasons that I'm on the fence is it's a great time to be a gamer. And there are so many good games out there that the question is, where do you have the time? So there's a lot of great games that I don't make time for. And it doesn't mean they're not good. You can't play all of them. And so my question is, does this one make it high enough to cross that threshold? Now, the 10 to 15 play is phenomenal. It feels as good or better as Destiny did on launch before it took a different direction. It feels as deep or better than Warframe with way more polish. The shooting is everything I want it to be. The world is stunning. But I still have questions on, how does this not feel old? When you go into the open world, how many missions are there going to be? You can say, oh, wow, these missions were all really unique. But once I've done them all 10 times a piece, okay, do I have to just farm these up for currency each week? How many dungeons are we talking? Are the dungeon fights going to be deeper than they are? Because for the first dungeon fight, it was really cool, but the boss was really rinse and repeat the same mechanic 6 times. There was very little actual depth to the fight when you look at a core mechanics level. And these are not questions that I think the demo failed to answer. These are questions that I think a demo can't answer. Knowing whether or not a game is good in end game is something you know in hindsight. You look back in a year and you say, did I have fun? And so that's not something that we can get to yet. It's not something that this next open weekend is going to answer. So that's really why I'm still on the fence, is I'm trying to decide, is there enough here that I at least get my investment back? Brian and I talk about there being kind of that $1 per hour from video games. So if you pay $60 for a game, am I going to get 60 hours out of it? And then that way, even if the end game's crap, at least I got my value. Because if so, I may go ahead and pull the trigger.
Sir Mav, what do you think? Do you have any also response to what Chris's points were?
I think he has a good suggestion on that point, as far as from his perspective, is it definitely enough? And that's true. It's truly right. You can't judge that by the demo. The demo, I mean, the story was literally 3 missions within the story, and everybody was running the stronghold because that was the hardest content. That's where you're going to get the most action. That's where you're going to get the most drops from. Even though I did play a couple public events, and I did get quite a few rares from some of the bosses, even though they weren't as difficult at certain times. But I think also even the complexity of having different play style of different javelins, you could have fun with that too, especially when at the very end on Sunday they gave us access to all 4 because of the whole issue going on there. Even though I did find a way to do it through an alt account on Xbox, it was possible to go through. You just have to go through the story again. But having that accessibility to try out all 4 javelins, really trying to change up the playstyle. I got a chance to try out the Inti, I got a chance to try out the Storm, and of course the Ranger, because that was everybody's main starting off. So there was different ways of attacking, and then there's also the abilities too are totally different. So even in the demo itself, like I mean, I went through the 95% glitch, as we called it, the whole time, and I still kept going in no matter whether time I hit that, because I wanted to try more. I wanted to see what this could do. I wanted to see what this ability do. But yeah, I could get it from a standpoint of the demo. I think there is, from my understanding, just from that little snippet that we got, I definitely think there's easily 60 hours of gameplay. Not only just going through the critical path of the story, but then once you get to in-game, how difficult is Grandmaster going to be? How difficult is Grandmaster 3 going to be? And can you synchronize with the team in different ways to attack a stronghold in a different way? And that's kind of what I'm looking at in that perspective.
Yeah, one of the core things that I think Chris and I were talking about offline was just that simple fact, is that do this Grandmaster scales, do they bring in new mechanics, but beyond just adding in additional damage? Because if it's just that, oh, it's going to take more bullets, you're going to push through more phases of the same stuff. Well, that does extend the replay, but it doesn't necessarily change it up. One of the things that is going to be a real strength, that if they can nail it, is variety. Spice of life, man. It's like, well, on on Grandmaster 1 or 2, then it's like, well, the boss could do this or this, and they just kind of like add in little stacking, mechanics that all of a sudden it said, yeah, now you have to deal with a different set of ads or a different phase, or you have to go, turn in these things, just to where it stacks to thus increase the intensity. Because I think the core thing, and we were talking about this before we actually hit the record button, with the 4-man team, I personally didn't feel hard was hard. What do you guys think?
Go for it, Chris.
No. Now, my first run through of hard, we started with a level 11 in the group. So first of all, I commend the game on having a level sync that is so easy that I can just drag my friends. He hadn't even made it that, I don't even get the impression you have to have made it that far in the story. If there's 10 story missions on launch, if I want to do the 10th one, I can just yank you into it, which is awesome. But I think that a downgrade. It did feel like hard is just things hit harder. So you're going to get, if you're not at full life, you're going to get one shot by things that maybe would have only taken out your shield before. And things take a little bit more damage, which really puts some emphasis on understanding the weak point of every mob. So understanding, is it their head? Is it their back piece? Is it, the little pouch on the side? What's going to make my bullet damage go way up, where you start seeing those yellow numbers? But that's about it. What I would like to see from Grandmaster 1, 2, and 3, we may not, would be like, imagine if that big Scorpion boss dropped the mini boss from the tunnel. And on Grandmaster 1, in his ad phase, he drops 1 of those every time. And in Grandmaster 2, he drops 2 of them. And in Grandmaster 3, he drops 3 of them. That would make that fight infinitely harder, because now you're like, can we get that mini boss down before the big boss comes back? Because if we don't, this is going to get nasty.
Yeah, I think they truly do need to add different mechanics in there, because you're right. It was a kind of a rinse and repeat thing. But once you figured out the abilities that were super strong against certain enemies, you could just blow through it no matter what level you were. Once you figured out the abilities, it was very easy. And then even when you started synchronizing, like my Storm, it's amazing how there was these electric inscriptions that you could go in. So it actually increased the damage of your electricity. So I had, of course, the one we've all seen, the Frost Shards and the Lightning Strike. The Lightning Strike is, so we know that lightning and frost so decimate shields.
So good.
The hunters were the most annoying thing in the world, but once you took out their shield, you could prime them with any status effect and they would be instantly frozen. They could be instantly on fire, and they're not a pain anymore, and they're not trying to attack you. So once you figure out, like you said, those core mechanics, it becomes really easy. Where it becomes hard is where you kind of, change the abilities, and their abilities that are not efficient in the manner of the stronghold that you're doing, and that's kind of what you have to play with.
That's one of the real strengths that I really enjoyed about just the fact that you can have 5 loadouts per each Javelin. You can really kind of build that up, spec that before you go into the mission. And just a kind of a final thought on just our conversation about the surrounding difficulty. At its core, I love this game. Like, it was so much fun. Like you said, it was just, I'm just throwing myself into the difficult, like, put me in hard. Let's go. I'm going to run this again. One thing that we did find, and I put it on Reddit and on the forums, though, was like, well, like, okay, if Chris is leader, he can't pass the lead to me for some reason. And it ended up being kind of a challenge because somebody might be on my friends list that might not be on your friends list. And thus it's like, okay, now we got to figure out how to invite him. How do we get him in and go from there? And it was, hopefully that's something they can get addressed. I don't care if it's in the open demo, but hopefully in the demo to the release to come. So I can hear Mikey slightly in the background, so I'm going to toss over to Sir Map. What are you thinking from this? Like, what was the key, most surprising thing that you took away from this demo? But like, bad things aside, the problems aside, once they kind of stabilize the servers, once even with the bugs, like, what is the one thing that really just surprised you that caught you off guard?
Probably the playstyle of the javelins. I mean, like we were talking about off stream, was basically whenever you started out, you thought they were going to be like reskins. Maybe they're going to have a little bit different playstyle. But really the versatility of the javelins, like they each, like whenever I went to an Inti, like it was a totally new experience from floating and hovering around in the storm or being on the ground and just going straight forward with the ranger. It was a totally different experience. And then also changing the abilities and trying to figure those out. I mean, that was what surprised me the most, is kind of the diversity of the makeup and playstyle of these javelins.
Now, Chris, you played with the Ranger and the Interceptor, so you got to see like two different whole play styles, and I was able to actually go hands-on with all four. I have to say, like, that was the thing that's the absolute thing that I took away. Exactly. Like, oh my gosh, so different. The jumps, the movement, the abilities. Chris, talk to me about your time with the Ranger and with the Interceptor.
So the Ranger really felt, it felt like a raw interpretation of the game. It felt like the way the game was meant to be played. The game just had a lot. The level design felt natural on the Ranger. The size of your jumps and everything felt really natural. The gunplay felt really natural. And then you switch to your second Javelin. And I played alongside a lot of Colossus and a lot of Storms, and watching the way they move around the level, at first you're like, what are they doing? Because it's just as natural. Like the Interceptor, my second time through the mission after switching Javelins, I was moving around the level totally differently than I did with my Ranger. All of a sudden I noticed that there were other jumps that felt natural, because now I have that triple jump, that huge gap. You can actually make it across that whole thing without flying with a triple jump. The Ranger can't do that. The Ranger's got to fly across that gap, which means that with the Interceptor, I can triple jump across, hit the flight, never hit the ground. I'm over the mines. I've already most likely meleeed down the first round of guys. You guys aren't even across the gap. It is so fast. So I think that at a core level, I really appreciated how well the Javelins played and how different they were. I expected them to be kind of rewashes of the same thing.
That's what I kind of expected something like
a rifle and a light machine gun. They were very different.
The one thing that was really surprising was how much I loved the Colossus. Like when I went on with that, I was like, wow, I really like this. But the Storm actually for me was a challenge. Like when I went from Ranger to Storm, I struggled at first. Like I couldn't, I was getting knocked out of the sky. I was just like, I'm constantly getting revived, where as a Ranger, I was like, yeah, this is fine. And I'm sitting here questioning. I was like, maybe I shouldn't play Storm. Maybe this isn't the Javelin for me. But then I start making connections, and I start like using Blink. And I have to say, like, for anybody out there considering Storm, Blink and Blink often. And somebody who's going to end up being like a real like masterclass of the Storm is going to be somebody who masters blinking while at the meantime maintaining their focus on wherever they're targeting. Because one of the things, like when I blink, I might end up like, oh, where'd my target go? And then I need to be able to hit it back. So it's going to in movement and traversal, how each one plays, like to the point where I was like, yeah, this is fantastic. And then you take on top of that the just insane kind of builds that you can build. You're gonna, I'm gonna have lightning and ice shards. Well, I started with ice shards and like just like this fire, bursting grenade that I can kind of follow and I hold it down. And I was just this AoE king, and just like freezing people, melting them down, freezing them, melting them down, rinse and repeat, and then your ultimate for the Storm. Oh my goodness! Every time it was up, every time, like I was like, boom, boom, and it was so perfect. I love that last boss. Like, honestly, I was like, yeah, I did him like 5 or 6 times. I did that strong. Ended up doing that stronghold 5 or 6 times, and I wish we could play it harder. But at the same time, I was like, this is fun. Like every time, like, you know, with the different group, like you have to kind of try to attack the turrets. I hate those turrets. You got to get behind them for the weak point. But my goodness, sorry, I'm just rambling on that part.
I just straight up wind wall them, freeze them, and then either somebody would combo that, or I would just lightning strike, and that take it down half health, and then somebody else could obliterate it then, because it's still frozen after the combo as well.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I think I have to spend a little bit more time getting more comfortable with, like understanding those combos. So you guys were running a lot of tests, like you were kind of talking about it just a minute ago about certain things like the ice and the lightning to kind of kill enemy shields. What else did you guys discover, you know, during this time that would be interesting for players that are coming in that they should know?
I was gonna say definitely like the big bosses. They can be like a status effect, but it's very like instant. So that's where like a key timing with your team, especially with a ranger that can do a devastating combo effect where it's initially just that single target damage. If you can time the ranger's ultimate with something where the storm can prime, you could probably devastate that swarm tyrant in no time at all. And then not only that, we were testing different guns, and I don't know if you saw it, but like the Devastator was the sniper rifle of talk. Apparently, if you read the little fine print in there, this thing has an explosive round, but I mean, you saw one guy on Reddit hit like 14K. I think I was doing about 11 or 12K with it, but it would pop that bubble and that swarm tyrant in no time. I mean, there's so many different things we still have to test.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And just so from the weapons you guys played with, did you end up finding anything that you preferred, like a gun that you really enjoyed? Because I found one that I really didn't like, and it was the marksman like rifle, the one pull. I felt like I really struggled with that. Shot. But I can't remember what it was called, but it was a the kind of the more tactical one with the triple shot. That's what I thought I equipped. I was like, all right, and then I was like, nope, this is not it. Not a fan. Not liking this gun. But then the hand like automatic like, you know, pretty much pistol. I loved that thing, and I'm typically not a pistol player.
The heavy machine gun, the one that fast fire.
Yeah, the one that by default I think that the Interceptor has equipped. I really appreciated that. The auto cannon that the Colossus can wield. It's like I've got a whole thing at 300 and I don't have to reload. And it was just like oh man, I was like, this is fun. This is just, and it, you know, it's just ridiculous. Okay, so any other thoughts? Any thoughts you guys want to share regarding your time with the Javelins themselves? You know, has it given you a concept of your main shifting after having gone hands-on with them?
I really appreciated the Interceptor. The playing is something, I'm not normally a melee guy, but there was something just even a little bit more tactical about being that light on your feet and about going down that quickly, where it made you like, okay, I'm going to melee the turret, and if I position myself right, the turret is actually screening all the bullets. So like the thing I'm killing is what's protecting me. And then right before it goes down, I've got to like backflip off of this thing or I'm going to die. Thank goodness that explosion doesn't hurt you when the turret goes down. Because you'd think with that big of an explosion that it would wipe me out.
I was actually curious on the Ash Titan 2, whenever it exploded, like it didn't do any damage, but I'm wondering if it actually a real game, like whenever it does die, like does it actually do damage to you or is it supposed to?
I wonder that. So that mission, are you talking about the one where the Titan turns into 3 and becomes the triplets? That was interesting.
It'd be an interesting thing to add to Grandmaster. Like it'd be an interesting thing to come back and say, all right, like playtime's over. We've made it imaginary fire. Now it's the real thing.
That was a fun mission. They had those waves of fire that were just like rippling out, and then I couldn't tell. It felt like they were teleporting in these fire grenades. Like I was like, I'm behind a wall, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's something burning me, and I had to run. And as soon as I got to that where I started to see the spark and I moved, then I was good. But I was always like, at first I thought it was a line of sight, but then at the end of the day, I'm walking away thinking some kind of telekinesis or just some kind of mechanic that a Titan can do. He can just say, walls don't matter to me, you know, put a grenade here. Am I wrong? Is that how it was? Or
it's basically like a big sun coming at you
and then just exploding. But like it could pause instead of hitting the back wall.
There was 3 attacks that you saw. It was the big firewall that would pulse out like 2 big firewalls, and then there's the one where he'd pull like these guys out of the ground. Of course, you could stop it as long as you shot the weak points, and then it would shoot out however many people you have on your team. So it'd shoot out 4 big fireballs at you. And then it had the one where it did another pull and it just like cut wherever you were at. So it really sucked if like somebody was next to you and you dodged over to theirs. So then you get hit by theirs or vice versa. But it was an interesting mechanic for such a slow like enemy that stays put in one site. I think they did a really good job on that. But again, there are other things that they could surprise us with Grandmaster and so on.
I thought we saw a lot of variety in the worlds and the enemy types and things like that. You know, I just felt like the world felt alive. And I think one of the things that just took my breath away is when you're flying, you can kind of fly down and into like a pool of water, and then all of a sudden you're in a whole other aspect of this game that they really nailed the flight and the swimming. I did find it a little ridiculous that I could run out of air underwater, but I guess you have to make some kind of dramatic thing. I did drown because I got lost underwater. I was like, I don't know, because it was my first time in the water.
Stronghold?
Yeah, in the Stronghold. I was like, I hadn't swam
I didn't
before that.
drown. I just assumed. I was like, I don't know what happens when this bar runs out, but I'm not going to be here.
Yeah.
and then he's like, oh, I died. I was like, well, that is what happens.
I was with Taylor, and so we were together, and he revived me, and I was like, how much air you got? And he's like, half a bar. I go, I'm following you, because if we can't get out of here and you die, I'll be right next to you and I'll revive you. And so we just kind of took turns.
Chain revive.
Because when you revive with full oxygen.
Yeah.
Which was really cool. What do you guys think of the?
My death time there, so I had just dropped in and left them in dust. I dropped in and shot over to like kill the side boss. And
one of the things that came out recent was that they're talking about how the story that we got to play through is actually like a side quest. It's not actually a part of the main story in the game. This is something that you could, I guess, optionally participate in if you make certain choices in Fort Tarsis. But I fell in love with Mathis right away. I thought that story was phenomenal, and we will spoil it here for you guys right now if you guys are worried about it. I don't think it's It's truly was interesting, and I thought it had a really good conclusion. I'm going to toss to you, Sir Mav. Is story something that's really important to you in these kind of games? And if so or not, what was your take in your relationship with Mathis and how that all played out?
So with most games like this, especially looter shooter RPGs, I guess we couldn't call it a shooter because it doesn't have cover-based shooting. But anyway, stories are not always the big telltale of games. I'm always focused on the end game and what kind of diversity and builds I can create. But having a great story never hurts. I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 had a phenomenal story, and it could change in any different direction too. So I'm curious, knowing Bioware and how they have choices in their other games, can you have different aspects of ending? But if it excites me, if this is just a side quest for the story mission that we played in the demo, I can't wait to see what they do because like you said, Matthias is a great character already by himself. And then also talking to Zoe by the Forge, like she has a spunky personality to her. I mean, anybody you talk to, even that, I don't know if you went to the bar.
Went to the bar, talked to even the bartender who was an actor on like 30 Rock. But but he did a good enough job that it's not like he wasn't playing his character on 30 Rock. But I was like, I know who this guy is. But yeah, the voice acting I thought was really good. The thing that struck me is obviously I felt like walking through the town was kind of slow, and they said they turned off sprint in the town, and the map is kind of small, but like when you look at the full map, it looks like it's much larger maybe in the full game. But as you're walking, like the NPCs would react to you in a very natural looking way. Somebody wouldn't just like bump you. They would be like, oh, excuse me, well, I'm going to keep moving in the direction, but I'm turning to the side to walk past you. I thought that was just a really cool touch. So the polish within Fort Tarsis was incredible. Chris, what was your take on the story? Because I always was surprised because you were like, I'm actually watching the cutscene. I'm actually invested in what's happening. And I go, okay, this is interesting to me.
I'm not a story guy, especially in a game that has a level cap. If it has a level cap, I don't know what game first bred it into me. I don't know if it was Diablo 1 or 2, or if it was all the way as recent as when I played my first WoW in 2004. But either way, for a very long time now, I have had it in my head that if you're not at level cap, you're behind, even on day one. And so I just have this history of Destiny 2, I did it without going to sleep. DFA, I did it, I think I slept 2 hours. So I just have this history of I must get it done. And part of the way to get that done is skip the story. It has a skip button. You will save all kinds of time if you just blast right past it. And the problem with that is then when you get to the far end and you want to sit back and enjoy it, you have no context for what's going on because you've skipped the first 60 hours of cutscenes. And so I've just chosen to play games basically without story. And I found myself with this one, the cutscenes were short enough. The pacing in town was slow enough that I actually found myself getting invested. And so like Brian was talking while I was streaming during one of the cutscenes, and I was like, hold on, I'm trying to listen to him. And it just caught him totally off guard because I'm the skip story guy. And then my game bugged and I didn't get to see the final cutscene.
I know. I felt so bad for him because I was like, he was actually invested, and it's like it froze out, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I thought the final thing had a really like good conclusion. Because we the whole time like, oh, are we gonna bring these three back together? I actually like them as three individual people. This is funny. Like this breeds so much drama and comedy all together. And there was one line where it's like, I taste purple, and I was like, that line felt predictable because I felt like I've heard it in other things before. And I don't remember where, but when he says like, oh, I taste purple, and I was like, I don't know. That's the one thing that just
an Easter egg.
Yeah. Oh, is it?
I don't know.
Okay. I was like, well, you got to tell me the story there. But no, like if this is just a sample of the story, Bioware has really been known for obviously their very story-driven narratives. One of the things that is interesting that keeps coming up is like, will you be able to fall in love in this game? And they've said no. Like that's not the focus of this game. But yet the story and the characters, I felt like there was a real connection as far as it goes. I felt like the characters were well-rounded. They delivered their lines really well. And the game itself, when it didn't bug out and freeze up on Chris, had this interesting thing. So I personally am excited because I like the lore. And then just the concept of the reality, how their concept of reality is fragile and breaking down due to these Shaper relics. Well, I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like they turned one guy into three people. What else can they do? What else are they secretly like in their labs, like just waiting for everybody to play this game and have that moment, that just like, that water cooler moment that everybody's like buzzing about here in a couple of weeks, that assuming that, EA doesn't come in and just like say, oh, you want the mask? It's $7,000. It's like, assuming that doesn't happen. I think they've got something really, really special.
Well, the thing is, you're not, like you said, as a side quest, we haven't even seen the main characters, Faye, Alec, Halleck, and Owen yet. I mean, those are the main characters, it seems, and just they already have amazing character personalities that we've already seen in the story trailers. So we have no idea what to expect, really.
Yeah, and
we haven't. The side story is better.
What's that?
I think Bethesda games, I've always enjoyed the side stories more than the main story. So there's not a problem. If this is the best story, I'm still okay with this.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. Let's talk about, I guess, obviously the issues. Like, so there was definitely issues on Friday. There were people had we talked about the 5% load error. The best thing that for me that comes out of it is that they should have enough data to know how to fix it and what to fix and what needs to happen. The goal is obviously having that taken care of and addressed and not introducing new bugs this weekend and the next weekend. What does Bioware need to do? What is this next weekend? How critical is this next weekend to the success of the launch? And whether it's successful, this is successful or not, does a good or bad launch really going to have an impact on a game as a service as a game? Because Chris talks about you don't buy a game for the first 24 hours. You buy it, like a game like this for the first more than 60, ideally. For like a games as a service is a game that typically you might be buying in that could be a year or two. I'm going to go to Sir Mav because we're all trying to stream, all of us, we were on stream just at the load screen. You went and said you played Battlefield 5. I went and did a round in Blackout, and one guy comes into my stream and was like, oh, you're just trying to get views. I go, no, I literally have Anthem trying to log in here, and I'm playing another game because it's boring sitting at an error screen. So, as soon as this starts working, we'll switch back to Anthem. And YouTube doesn't like switching. Like when you switch the game titles, it really freaks it out. How critical is this upcoming weekend? And what wins do they need to have?
I think the main win is they need to fix the issues that they found. I mean, really thank God that these issues did come up because, I mean, it sucks that they did, but they did resolve most of the primary issues that were causing connectivity issues after Friday. So Saturday and Sunday, people were allowed free reign, even though they had the 95% bug, even though the stronghold would bug out sometimes if you try to go into the web cave and everything. But in any case, this next one, I mean, you're going to have even more millions of people jumping in. I mean, they had 9 million hours of people playing, and this was just the VIP people. These are just the people that subscribed for EA and Origin Access and also pre-ordered the game. So you're going to have everybody jumping in and trying out this game. So they need to make sure their servers are locked down, which they said they were, and they need to put in a patch for this demo and make sure that they don't have these bug issues coming in. But it seems like especially they've been vocal. I mean, from the first day, they gave us a vocal update of they know what these issues are. They stated out exactly bullet point by bullet point what's going to happen, and that's a good sign for future bugs too. If they do have any launch game, I mean, they've been transparent with us from the beginning. To have that and put out patch notes and like that, I'm excited to see that too. That just means they're on the case. They're going to be communicating everything to the community. But yeah, they need to fix the patch bugs and basically get a solid demo so that way everybody can come in and play. Because once people play, that's where the key win is. Because it's a very fun, enjoyable game.
Yeah, that's where I was talking with a couple of friends who couldn't get in. So as a part of the podcast, we have Chemistral and Nightmare. Nightmare, who got to play. Chemistral wasn't able to get in this weekend at all. Just, and that's not just because of, Friday, but that sometimes it's like you have a job, you got to go to do things. You only might have a certain day to play, and if it was Friday, a lot of people that was just like no. But that is the thing. Chris, how critical is this weekend for the launch? Does another bad weekend impact, do you see people who got to play walking away or pre-ordered, canceling their pre-orders with another bad weekend, or do you think people are going to give Bioware enough rope? But I look at it and I go, a lot of people are actually against the success of this game because of its publisher, and I like your perspective.
I think because this game is tied to EA, they've got 10-footer rope to use the slack in, and this weekend going poorly would use that rope up unnecessarily. They will absolutely still succeed if this weekend goes poorly, because they're not refunding pre-orders, and so those people are still going to play, and so as long as launch is good. But the problem is, then the first time that a DLC has the same issue, the first time that a new Javelin comes in and people don't like the pricing on it, because that would be my guess at where the monetization model is going to be. If the future content is free and EA is still involved, they've got to make money on something. So I was trying to look at the fine print, what did they say wouldn't be free? And it's well, they never said Javelins would be free. So that could be how they're going to get us. Javelins and cosmetics. But I don't know. That's my guess.
Well, cosmetics have no impact. Just because I have a different cape, you want to go spend, money. That's great. Go spend your money. You're funding it
like a MOBA. The javelins could be 1,500 coins a piece, and you get X coins for certain clears. And so as long as you're playing a lot, you'll be able to afford the javelins as they come out. And if not, you can pay your $10 and get the javelin right now. But the first time they do something that causes a public outcry, if this demo went wrong, whatever memes come out of this demo going wrong are going to come back and bite them. So they don't need it to go well, but it would just be a lot cleaner if it did.
On the monetization though, I think essentially they talked about what their plan is. You have coins and you have a premium currency. iGame, do you have more context as to what has actually been shared by the devs in terms of the premium currency? Because does it take a mix to open up these cosmetics, or is it just can you get everything by farming in the game?
So you can get everything by farming in the game, as far as cosmetics and vanity items, and you'll get coin for, of course, as we saw in the demo. We already had an example of what the monetization will be. You have coin for what you can earn in game. You have shards, is what they're calling the premium currency that you can actually purchase and use it towards cosmetics and vanity items. And I think Chris is right. Yeah, we might have it to where you have to purchase javelins in the future whenever they do decide to add additional javelins to the game. That could be exactly what they do. I mean, they do it for Star Wars. For new heroes and everything, so you can do, but you can also earn them in game too. So it could be on the basis that they're also coined. Then I don't know if they're going to block it completely. They're not going to block it completely, I don't think, by just real money. I think it's going to be you can earn it. You play the game enough, you'll have enough coin. You can earn it in game.
My only concern with anything that's purchased is that it has to do with progression. I think if they bring in anything that, let's say a Javelin, even if you can earn it in a game, but it takes you 100,000 hours to earn enough coin to unlock the Javelin, and that Javelin is the only Javelin that can beat the new stronghold. That in and of itself, that would be a kind of a game breaker, something that would really, I think, impact and hurt the community that's surrounding it. There's like Chris said at the beginning, there's no way that the demo can answer that question, and there's no actual way that I think the devs can answer that question. There's no, it ends up being more something that literally has to be shown to us, and the only way they show that to us is when the first new Javelin is introduced, at however long that is away. And I mean, that could be a year away, it could be who knows what else away, but it's at some point in the distance. What I hope though is that this monetization model works and makes sense, because if the game is making money, then it's going to continue to get invested in, and that means new and more content, and that makes me excited because the gameplay, I can't find no fault in it. I can't remember a time that I've wanted to wait in line at an error screen to have an opportunity to go fly around in a world. And then, I mean, just from the animation point alone, it's hard to explain when you're flying
smooth.
And you land, and you can choose the way you want to land. Do you want to land in a melee attack? Do you want to land, or you want to stop and hover and lay down some fire? Like, just the amount of ways that you can impact the world and combat was awesome. And then and so like I was teasing Chris, he went off and actually watched the story. One of the things we joke about is I could care less about the glamour, which is a Final Fantasy reference. It's essentially the fashion frame. It's the way that you deck out and make your character look. I've never spent any time whatsoever customizing the look of any of my characters. I'm just like, whatever. I finally did it after almost 7 years in Final Fantasy 14. And everybody's like, Brian finally took part in this system. I'm like, I got some shorts and glasses. It was a summer look. I was like, I just threw it together. I spent at least 40 minutes playing around with color schemes and the fabrics, and just playing around with and I actually, because there were just 25 coins, by the time I got to it, I was sitting on thousands of coins from just playing the game. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to just buy all these things and see how I look. And I was like, what is happening to me? A, it was easy. B, it was fun. C, it gives you such an insane amount of depth. Honestly, I can easily see people just kind of putting out different fashion things. If they could share, if you could build out a fashion thing and hey, I published this to some, group share, and then you could go download people's different designs. I think that would be almost be a kind of a nice communal tie-in. Hey, would you like to look like your favorite streamer? Or here I bought, here's these different things, this is what you need to build out this special look. I could see somebody just building a YouTube channel around that concept alone with this
I can tell you already, I already have people asking me, they want a snapshot of what my vinyls and my color coordination is already.
I saw the pictures that y'all were sharing over in Discord. I was like, that looks amazing.
I love the two-tone graphic materials. Those things, it looks amazing. Just the 3 that they had in there, I mean, think of all the things they can do, and that's where they can get you. You already talked about it. You've never customized anything before, and looking at the personalization options that you have to customize the Javelin, and not just one, you have 4 different styles that you can customize.
Yeah,
it's going to be infinite, and that's where they're going to get the monetization value. That's where they're going to get people to spend money that don't want to wait. And I have to have this now.
Yeah, this is the look that I want right now, and I'm going to go with it. Because Chris, you just I think colored yours blue, and everybody was like, "Dude, that looks amazing."
I picked 2 blues that went well together. I picked 2 dark grays that went well together, and I just threw it on the Interceptor. And my one complaint was I can't change the color of my jets. I want to. So I pictured Need for Speed, right? So I can put neon on the car. So it's let me if there's lights and flames and anything coming off of my guy while I'm using him, let me change the color of that too.
And I think they will change that. They've already talked about changing the aura, changing the rocket color, allowing you to change the visor. It's just not at launch, but I guarantee they're going to have that in there. If they want a true customization and to get the money from it, they're going to have to.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, if people are wanting to buy it, that it makes it easier from a development perspective, saying, oh, let's add this, and that way we could definitely keep and there's nothing wrong with making money in game. I want to be clear that I'm pro with these companies making money. I just want them to make sure that they do it in a way that is generally well received both for the company and for the gamers. It doesn't feel like I guess just creepy in a way that it's like, oh man, really, if you really want to have fun to unlock the stronghold, give me another $5. It's like, no. Like, yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how that works. I think it works really well with Fortnite. We were talking about that in our last podcast. Like, Fortnite's all cosmetics. There's no progression tied to it, and it seems to do, obviously, $2 billion projected for this year alone seems to be that it's going to do just quite well. So I can't wait to see how that progresses. All right, we have a little bit of time left, and with that time, I want to kind of talk about, where does this game go? Like, we're gonna let's play Prophet for a little bit. Let's say 6 months from now, we're looking back, and it's like, what are the things that we want them to do as a part of the games as a service aspect? We don't know what the story is. We don't know how many dungeons and missions, but how often do we want to see them deliver these content updates? How often? We want to obviously can see them continue their amazing communication, but how often? Do we want to see them get to a road in which that they bring in PvP or not? Like, what is the road that we're wanting to see? Like in 6 months, that we're going to sit back and say, man, that was worth my time. What are those key components? I'm gonna toss to Chris because he looks like he's thinking on it.
I would say 2 to 4 new dungeons in that time would be great. That's my kind of optimal range. More than that would obviously be welcome. New rounds of cosmetics, and then the big thing is I would love to see more leaderboards and stats. When I come out of a mission, I want to know how many kills I got, what my accuracy was, where my damage is coming from, how often, are my weapons both doing it at the same time. I wouldn't mind a deeper understanding of the medal system and achievements and stuff. So give me more and more medals, like hot swap medals and stuff for finishing something off by switching weapons quickly. So when you get to the end of a clip, it encourages you, hey, I don't have time to reload. Let me just switch to the other weapon and finish him off. And then we'll deal with the reload when it's safer. So I would love to see, I guess, more gamifying of the already great system. The system's wonderful. The core mechanics are wonderful. The level design is wonderful. The game is beautiful. And my fear entirely at this point is depth. So just give me a reason to keep going through your crappy load screens. You don't have to fix the load screen if it's that good. That's what's so great about this game is
that you wanted stats. You just want little things like,
I just want more stuff, more ways to clear missions, more ways to, why do I want to clear a stronghold 600 times? What are you going to do to make number 600 good? Because otherwise, if that isn't in the game, we will always consume content faster than they come out with it. Mm-hmm. They would have to come out with a new dungeon every day to keep up with us, unless they build replayability in there.
Sir Matt.
So I think they have to follow a timeline. They have to have a roadmap for 3 months out for sure. And I agree with Chris. He's saying, I believe Chris was saying 2 to 4 new strongholds within the 6 month period. I think they need to do that every update, at least 1 new stronghold every update if possible, but 2 would be nice, preferable. They need to put raids in there at some time.
How would you define a raid differently than a stronghold? Because for me, it's a volume of people. Because I felt the stronghold had a very raid theme. We go from here, we do this, then we go actually this other area. Now we're swimming and solving this puzzle. Then we're doing this. Now there's a mini boss. Now it wasn't this sprint to the end. I felt like there was just this. Anyway, how do you define a raid?
I would define a raid, like you said, we had 4 people. There'd definitely be probably more of an eight-man kind of group, and we have launch bays already of 16. So it's now we have accessibility to socialize with people and get people grouped up in raids, even though there's a lot of people that are using Discord now and all different other communities to gather up. But I think a raid would be cool, and I think raids have more of an aspect of complexity, more of a complex puzzle system, or more mechanics in how you take down a different enemy. Like for instance, in Destiny 2, they have very complex mechanics on how you take down different enemies, and you have to kind of figure those out. Maybe not so crazy, but it would be nice. I know a lot of Destiny people are coming over from there to come to Anthem, so they would probably definitely appreciate that. And on another context, I see raids more of like an hour's worth of gameplay. I mean, Destiny's sometimes took way more than just an hour to go through. I don't think you need to make it that long. I think you just need to make it fun and complex enough to where people have to use their heads, think of the way they're playing. More of a team base is what I think of raids.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have to coordinate too much, even with the hard content on Strongholds. You may have to in Grandmaster if they add different mechanics in there, but I didn't think it was that much of a necessity. They need to add, of course, quality of life features. I mean, it would be awesome if we could actually see our stats in a one place area. I know there's a lot of people talking about DPS meters that are big in MMOs that want in there.
I don't want it real time because I'm talking about DPS meters, but I would love it like after the fact, because what I want to know is, am I improving? You know, especially when you let's say you build out a crazy build, you know, you're like, okay, I'm going to check out, I'm going to go these skills. This is how I've got it built. These are the perks. And then you go in and you run it, and all of a sudden you're like, I did 50% less than I did last time. Like where did I go wrong and what I was thinking? And there's obviously many factors that are going to impact that number, but it's just helpful to know. It's helpful to see. And the debate between like, does it show your friends' numbers, like the people you roam with, or not? Like that, you know, does this then create an environment to grief people? I'm on the fence of like, well, I mean, toxic people are going to be toxic whether you give them the numbers or not. If you have the numbers, you might actually be able to defend yourself because they're going to yell at you regardless. But, you know, not everybody, you know, feels that way. And so for me, as long as it's not real time so that you're not sitting here watching a number and missing the beautiful world. Yeah. But at the end, I'm a baseball nerd at heart.
Yeah, I don't need anything on screen either. I just heard that's some things that people wanted, but I definitely in screen. I want to know like how many times I actually comboed during that time, because combo, if you weren't looking at it, combo is actually what really pushes your ultimate over there. Like especially in the part of the stronghold where the other spiders, the little soldiers are coming out whenever the swarm timer's up in the cave. If you were the one that was comboing on all those little creatures and murdering them, usually it was if you had the Colossus was especially the big one, or even the storm in the background, but the Colossus with the flamethrower and the lightning coil just decimating everything in front of there. I mean, they had a combo every single time the sword timer came out. I saw my buddy with the Colossus. He had it every single time. And if I was doing the same thing, if you can coordinate with your team on who's comboing that, you can each have your ultimate and push it on that swarm tire and completely take it down almost maybe within like 2 rounds if you wanted to.
So that brings me to the thing that I want to see, is that I would love to see, when we're talking about leaderboards, like the ability to speed run, the ability to set your own kind of challenges of saying like, how fast can we clear this? Like, okay, we're going to go and see if we can't beat our time, and just kind of having that feedback loop, because at the end of the day, replayability can be set by the devs, but replayability can also be defined by the player base in a sandbox, kind of mindset. And all we need for the sandbox is the tools to do so, to be able to issue challenges, to be able to issue, like we have the alliance system, that they have these social spaces. Like hopefully what I want to see in 6 months, to answer the kind of the root of this question, is in 6 months, more quality, more social, updates, and then also continuing to talk to us, take our feedback, and allow us not to override their design plan and vision of the game, but to work alongside them, where they're saying like, hey, we're, especially when they come down to a kind of a junction. We've got so many resources for development. We're thinking we want to do A and B. What do you want first? Because both, are really like, we're going to do both, but what do you want first? And then the community, as a majority would say like, okay, we either want A or B first, and then with knowing that, oh, B's still coming or A's still coming, this is going to be great. And once they can start to establish whatever that cadence is, I think that's when trust is going to be reestablished. I think that Anthem, if they bring in crossplay in 2019, I think if they are able to hit that this year, you're going to see, I think, come on,
PlayStation, do it.
And my buddy Randy was saying like, you know what, even if PlayStation doesn't want to get on board, Xbox, PC, and then like, okay, PlayStation, just like with Fortnite, we'll get to you. It's like we're waiting for you. If it
becomes so popular, they're gonna have to jump in on it.
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hearing like more people talk about it.
The second domino is a big moment in gaming. The second time that Sony has to cave because they're the bad guy publicly is a big moment.
And the question is, go ahead, Matt.
I was gonna say Microsoft already has the tools. I mean, they have it set up already. They just need to go ahead and ball up and initiate it.
Microsoft also has like the marketing rights for this game, so there's definitely some communication, some partnership that's going on. And Microsoft actually has a pretty close relationship with EA, because they're also the only ones with like EA Access, which is on the Xbox platform. So I could see that. Somebody was saying something, just as a floating an idea by you guys before we wrap up and kind of say what we're working on. But somebody was saying like, how weird or interesting would it be if all of a sudden you start seeing like different things like Game Pass have impacts on kind of games as a service game and things like that, where like, oh, if you're subscribed to Game Pass, maybe you get a certain amount of like shards, like, whatever the premium currency is. Not that that's happening. I'm not saying that's happening. I'm just saying that it'll be interesting to see how the relationship evolves, because Microsoft's really pushing the games as a service, as for all games, really. That's what Game Pass is or not. Guys, I'm in love with Anthem. Like, I was blown away by this weekend. If it's not clear to say, like, I really am I'm happy I'm actually getting it on PC on the 15th. I'm excited to be able to play it on Xbox. I want crossplay, and the thing I see that they would do is, like, it would just be another character slot. I've got my PC character, I've got this, and then eventually I can just play one character and just go nuts. And that's what I'm really, really excited about for it. I think from a community perspective, that breaking down the walls between Xbox, PC, and PlayStation puts Anthem on a whole different foot. It could really set it apart from the other things on the market, especially like when you got Division 2 launching a month after Anthem. So it's going to be an interesting year for looter shooter MMO light kind of games. So Sir Mav, what you working on? We hyped you up last time. I want to keep hyping this guy up, guys. He does a lot of really good work on YouTube and on Reddit. I haven't checked your number today, so we want to get him to partner. He's not there yet. Make sure you check the link in the description. What are you working on right now, sir, man?
Well, currently I'm in the state of moving, so more content's probably going to come out in February after the launch on February 15th. But I do have some ideas of showcasing some builds after the weekend, so I'm going to get some footage there. And then I do have another analysis build for Battlefield 5 on some weapons to come out too.
Nice.
So that's what I'm working on.
All right, guys, check out Sir Mav's YouTube channel. Link will be in the description of this video. Go give him some love. Watch some of his videos. Leave him a comment or two. I don't know if you like the comments or not. We like our
always.
Comments. Yeah. Chris, what are you working on, man?
Trying to catch up in WoW. My raid group was gonna be a little late to the raid because the raid leader got married the week that it dropped. So trying to catch up there.
So that's when you got to. That's when you got to push. Just got it like.
Also my alts. And yeah, he got married to somebody that he plays Blizzard games too. So it was an interesting. I guess you have to schedule weddings further out. You don't know the content.
Yeah.
And then I'd like to finish up Blue Mage, get through the Mass Carnival in 14. And really, that's about it. I don't think I'm going to have time to play Kingdom Hearts on drop. That's another one of those games that I'm sure is going to be phenomenal. If Kingdom Hearts came to the Switch, I would buy it today because I'm on a flight sometime in the next week here, and it's a 4-hour flight each way.
Is it not coming on Switch?
No, not yet.
Oh, man.
And that's where I need it, because when I'm at home, I have so much to do in WoW and 14 and around the house. And if I end up picking up Anthem, if I'm going to pick up a single player game, it needs to be not at the house. I have plenty to do here. Give me the ability to play games when we're in the car, so I can be like asking my wife to drive so I can play.
And then for me, just working on a lot more. I'm trying to wrap up the Pokemon for the Smash, get those guides wrapped up and finished, and then obviously really excited about this weekend. Hopefully, we'll be able to get started with some just beginner guides to the Javelins. Now that I'm hit 15, gonna have some fun, and
Will that push you to halfway?
What's that?
Will that push you to halfway? Will you have half the Smash guides out?
I'm getting close to getting to that halfway point, and then I was like, I like challenges. I'm like, I'm gonna make a guide for every character.
Oh gosh.
And it's like I'm having a blast with it. I'm literally having just a ton of fun, and that's really where we're like, Brian, why are you doing this? It's like I'm learning a lot. I'm having fun, and people say thank you. Some people say thank you. Some people go, why does this exist? I'm an expert, and this is a 101 beginner's introduction guide. Literally, like, that's what I always feel like we have to call these things. I'm like, dude, I don't know why you're here, but thanks, I guess. Anyway, so for Work To Game, this is Anthem Free Radio, episode 8. I can hear the call of the bewitching hour. Thanks, guys, for coming on so late, obviously in the week. For everybody who is looking to check out Anthem, be sure to download the demo. You can do it right now, PlayStation, PC, and Xbox. Just search Anthem Demo, download it. They'll have probably a patch between this Friday. Go get it. check it out. Let us know what you think. And we hope to, kind of hear from you, like especially your javelins. But anyway, for Work to Game, for Anthem VIP episode 8, my name is Brian.
My name's Chris.
I'm Sir Mav.
And take care, everybody. Hey, it's me. It's been a while since I talked to you guys directly this way, but don't tell anybody. We've got even more epic content planned for this channel. The response has been incredible. We hope to see you. If you're new, hit subscribe, leave us a comment. I'd like to talk to you more about video games. I can't seem to speak my language. All right.